Uh, Great to have you all guys here. So we're actually seeing the end of this, very long preparatory period for us when the Law Firm Management Conference in Moscow was actually trying to entertain you through very different types of online discussions and webinars. And I hope that, over this period of time, we actually counted quite recently that we had around 500 people registered for our events. And we had roughly 30 speakers and moderators during this event. So we had a very interesting period of our lives that we believe we were able to share some, good examples of positive behavior and positive thinking. And today we're actually going to get, the paramount of this discussion, I believe. Because if maybe 3-4 years ago, people would start talking about burnout among lawyers, that would be connected with very few people who kind of suffered working in a very, demanding law firms with a very demanding clients. But now I believe we're all technically in the same shoes one way or another. And that's why we decided that this topic would be one of the quite interesting, exciting, and we are now in this, 7 month of pandemic world, when I believe that everybody, the most optimistic of us, was able to kind of, to understand that, we're not separated from the world, and how much we are optimistic. The world around us is actually bringing some kind of different layout and different understanding of ourselves. This topic would be connected with the chronic burnout of lawyers. What are the symptoms? Is there prevention? And the most important part probably, is there any kind of treatment? We have absolutely marvelous group of speakers today. And our moderators today is Evgeniya Bondarenko, Usconsult, law firm from Novosibirsk. Evgeniya paid very significant contribution to to all our programs and to this specifically. And Zoya Zekely, who is a partner and head of European desk of EPAM, and who is, as we all know, the most well-known Russian law firm. So I would like to give the possibility for Evgeniya and Ilona to lead this discussion, and probably to advise us what to do in this very different and very complicated environment. Please do.
Hello, good evening or good morning. It depends on your time. And I want to introduce Yury Zachek, who was a lawyer and who was a partner of Deloitte. And so he knows on his own experience what is burning out. And now he's a coach, International Coach Federation. And I also want to introduce Anna Sorokina, who she was also a lawyer, psychologist and business trainer, and mediator. And Anna is well known as a founder of Soft Skills Academy. I know them in life, and it's happy to know someone in life, not in online and offline. And so I'm sure that everything will be okay in this section, and it will be very interesting. And Ilona, I ask you to tell and to introduce two more speakers.
Thank you, Evgeniya. Yeah, I'm proud to introduce to you Lisa Walker-Johnson, who is the founding principal of Walker Clark, which is an international legal management consulting firm based in the US. She is a psychologist who for the last 25 years has mainly specialized in advising law firms and law firm partners worldwide. She will mainly discuss what law firms throughout the world are doing to help their personnel to deal with burnout and the stressors in current times of COVID. And she will as well discuss in practical terms what partners can do. So, and the main topic will be as well how important it is in responding to this crisis, and how law firm partners have special responsibilities and influence in improving the culture of law firms. Then we have Kama. It's our last speaker, and more or less he will not speak a lot. He will more or less teach us maybe. He's a yoga teacher from India who has vast experience in Hatha and Ashtanga yoga therapy, and also yoga massage. Among his students are as well a lot of partners from very important law firms in Russia, and as well in-house counsels. So he understands very well the stress we have and we face in our environment here. So he will show us at the end some health exercise for breathing, which will calm down and relax the body and the mind. So these are the 4 speakers we have. And I understand that before we started this conference, we want to show you some survey results. We conducted a survey before the conference on how law firms are dealing currently with crisis and crisis management. So I think it's you, Evgeniya, you will show the presentation, and I think Lisa will demonstrate to us the results of that survey, which was conducted mainly in Russia, I have to say.
Evgeniya, would you like for me to begin? Or did you want to say something?
No, you just can begin, of course.
Okay, well, I wanted to thank you, first of all, for publicizing this survey and compiling the graphics that we see today. The responses, as we heard this morning, came from 43 lawyers, mostly partners in Russia who volunteered to participate. We designed the survey originally to better understand who might be attending the webinar, and in particular, whether law firm leaders are experiencing their professional lives differently in areas that are relevant to stress and burnout in the times of COVID as compared to pre-COVID. We came up with 10 statements to represent specific indicators of these changes that were potential sources of stress. And the response scale that we used was never, sometimes, frequently, and always. So, for example, if you answered never, it would suggest that you see no difference between now and pre-COVID in your reaction to that statement. So, for example, with the first one, I feel more pressure to prove my worth to the firm now. If you said never, then you'd be saying, no, it's the same. I have had no change. But if you feel more pressure now, then you would respond with sometimes, frequently, or always. As I mentioned, each statement is linked to an indicator of potential change, which suggests some increased stress. Now, what the responses don't tell us is what the baseline of the behavior or perception was pre-COVID. But what it does suggest, and what we were looking for, is to what extent law firm leaders are experiencing these statements differently now as compared to pre-COVID times. What they showed us generally is that change is definitely real as it's being experienced. Stress is real. And as Evgeniya said, it's not a problem for one person or one firm. It really illustrates our shared experience as we compare our lives today to before the pandemic. Now, Evgeniya is going to bring up some of the graphics from the actual data. You may contact her later to get this information if you would like to, and I believe she'll tell you how to do that. We don't have the time this morning to actually go through each one of them in detail, so we thought we would share just a few highlights of our reactions to the data. So, yeah.
Lisa?
Okay, so this first one is one that I mentioned earlier. I think in general, what we did is paid attention initially to the slices that are represented by frequently and always. And with all 10 of the items, a substantial portion of the respondents, more than half for each statement, perceived significant change that fell into that frequently or always. If a substantial portion of the respondents in the survey are managing partners, which is what we think, I think we may reasonably hypothesize that the stress that's arriving from these perceptions is probably greater among junior lawyers, administrators, and staff. So that may be something to keep in mind as well. It's interesting on number 2 that 61% said that they always or frequently work more now on their own. But at the same time, with number 3, 48.2% felt more engaged with colleagues. This is really consistent with what we've heard about how, in part thanks to video conferencing, law firm partners actually are having more frequent and more meaningful contact with each other than when they were at the office. So it's certainly not, change does not represent all bad news. If you look at 4, 5, and 6, and the slices of sometimes, frequently, and always, 88 to 91% expressed changes from pre-COVID to today in these 3 areas. Job-related stress is more likely to affect my moods now. Number 5, job-related stress is more likely to decrease my productivity. 91.2% said that was true sometimes, frequently, or always. And my leadership responsibilities are different now. So those were quite striking as well. If we go to the very last one, number 10, I am more optimistic about the firm's future. There appears to be a very high degree of optimism about people's perceptions of their future. Maybe it's because the world will always need lawyers. I think part of this optimism is due to just having survived or having managed to survive through COVID. And in some cases, do very well, dealing with great challenges and coming together as a team. However, one of the questions we could ask for all of these is, what are the implications of these changes for continuing to practice law in the way we have always done? Are these shifts here to stay? And if so, what does that mean? And how do we manage them? Evgeniya or anyone else, do you care to comment on any of the others?
No.
That's sufficient.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
And Yury, I ask you to start.
Yes. Yes. Can you see my deck now?
Yeah.
Good. All right. So my presentation, I have around 15 minutes, right? Cool. Okay. So my presentation will be more about the reasons for emotional burnout of lawyers and about the major stress factors in legal careers. So, and it's very interesting that we've seen now the results of this survey, because I will be sharing with you some results we had in previous years about the burnout, and we can actually compare what has changed. So a couple of words about me, just for you to know who I am and why I'm talking on this topic. I am a lawyer as well. So, and I think I always will be, because there cannot be formal lawyers, you know. So I worked for more than 17 years in legal profession, first in legal consulting in companies like Ernst & Young, EY Law, DLA Piper, and Deloitte, legal arm of Deloitte. I was a partner at Deloitte, leading legal practice in St. Petersburg in Russia. And then for more than 5 years, I worked as an in-house legal director in Eastern Europe at Accenture. The truth is that it was around 4 years ago, so I was completely burned out. So I was one of these lawyers, top lawyers, with great career, who was absolutely burned out, and I had to find a way out. So, and actually for me, coaching worked very well. And when I found a way out for myself, and I got out of this stress and burnout, I also found a new occupation, actually. So for the last 4 years, I've been working as a coach, and my major clients are lawyers, partners of law firms, legal directors, top executives, business owners. So I'm actually working a lot with the consulting companies. I wrote 2 books over the last years, and one of them is called Upshifting, a step-by-step guide on changing your life if you've lost yourself in the routine. And at the end of my session, I will actually present this book to all of you because there's a lot of stress management techniques for you there. And the second one is the guide on sales for lawyers and law firms, because I know that for lawyers in consulting, a lot of stress and a lot of burnout comes out on sales efforts, because you need to sell, not only do your legal stuff, but also finding clients and selling. This is always a big, big problem for lawyers. So, I will also start with some survey findings. And there were a couple of surveys made by 2 magazines in Russia. First one was Legal Insight, and the second one was Platform. The results, so the results are mainly concerning Russian lawyers, but I'm sure all those lawyers who are who connected to our session today from throughout the world will also recognize themselves in these findings. So let's see what lawyers were talking about the reasons for the burnout before the pandemic. So 69% of lawyers experience high level of stress. Okay, so 70% of lawyers. 76% of lawyers are extremely irritable because of stress. So it means that the stress and burnout actually changes our character and how we interact with other people. 60% of lawyers feel burned out. 44% of lawyers feel apathy. 45% of lawyers feel depressed. 26% of lawyers use alcohol as the main tool for stress management. And this is very much consistent with the figures we have for the lawyers throughout the world. Between 20 and 25% of lawyers actually are using alcohol a lot or have an alcohol abuse. 34% of lawyers do not manage their stress at all. So it means that they do not have necessary techniques and necessary tools and instruments to do so. 70% of lawyers noted that there is more work than time off in their life. So lawyers do work a lot. I'm pretty sure you all know it very well. 53% of lawyers spend not less than half of their time on routine tasks every day. So it means that every second lawyer actually is doing every day just the routine stuff. That is not very exciting. So this is one of the reasons for the burnout. 46% of lawyers, almost half of lawyers, are not able to do every day what they're good at their work and what they're interested in their work. 65% of lawyers do not have clarity about their career path and opportunities. 34% noted that their managers do not communicate with them on this subject at all. So 1/3 of lawyers actually do not understand what is their career perspectives. Only 50% of lawyers stated that they have the desire and the ability to develop within the current employer. Again, this was pre-COVID. Now things might have changed. The last figure is really astonishing, but it was published in the Российская газета, Russian newspaper, one of the major editions in Russia. 59% of lawyers are considering change of their profession. Again, this was last year. So let's see, what are the major stress-inducing factors in lawyers' work? In other words, why are lawyers so stressed and what we can do about it? After analyzing all this data and all these figures, and also after working with literally thousands of lawyers in personal coaching, I have summarized the following major stress-inducing factors. First of all, it's very simple: lack of work-life balance. So as we've seen, lawyers are very much focused on work. They do work more than actually a lot of other professions. So, lawyers need to be always accessible. They need to always respond to their client needs during the weekends, during holidays, and so on and so forth. One of the things that has changed with COVID, and I'm sure you all noticed it as well, is that there is no more borderline between work and not work, between work and home. because now all of us, we have home offices. And actually, previously, lawyers were working long hours, but at least they were in the office. But when they left the office, our brain had a signal that the working day is over. Now I can switch to my family, to my hobbies, to gym, or to some interests. It's not the case anymore. So now the problem is that that people who work with home offices, who work remotely, they tend to work longer hours because they just cannot stop. So this is one of the bad consequences, negative consequences of the pandemic. So it's constant time pressure, tough deadlines, working 24/7. This is specific to legal profession. Not all professions work like that. But again, we have to work like that because our clients demand us so, and because it's the tradition. So there are a lot of traditions in the legal profession, and it's a tradition that lawyers must work a lot. If you are a lawyer and you're not overworked, and if you're not working a lot, especially if you are in a law firm, you are considered as probably not a good lawyer or not very engaged lawyer, you know? So it's a big scandal if you just, you know, stand up and go home at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. So that's why there are a lot of traditions that I would say come from the 20th century and are a little bit outdated in our profession. So the third thing is constant work with negativity and focus on risks. So lawyers do not work with, you know, kids, kittens, pink unicorns and flamingos. You know, we're not working with creating advertisements or stuff with marketing campaigns. So we are working with problems. So that's why lawyers tend to, every day, they tend to see problems. So, and very often the life of a lawyer turns out to be as one big problem, you know? So the lawyers just get used to treating life as solving the problem. So, but life is not always a problem. There are always good things in life as well, but good lawyers are trained to notice risks. They're trained to notice what might go wrong. They're trained to notice suspicious things. So that's why colleagues, let's be very frank, we lawyers in general do not trust each other a lot, and they do not trust, unfortunately I've seen it, they do not trust other people as well, you know? So because our profession, I would say, demand us to doubt a lot. So perfectionism, fear of making a mistake. So there were a lot of research done on the psychotype of lawyers, you know, a psychological research mainly done in the US and UK. And the research shows that there is a specific type that the majority of lawyers have. And this is perfectionism and fear of making a mistake, because lawyers are trained not to do mistakes. You know, mistakes are not tolerated in legal profession. So lawyers have to be very careful, very cautious, very attentive not to make mistakes. So this is why it's one of the major stress factors for lawyers. So because we always make mistakes, we're all people, we're not robots, you know, even robots make mistakes. Once I got a wrong amount of cash from an ATM, you know, even ATM makes mistakes. But there is a perception that lawyers never make mistakes, and they're, I would say, punished by their clients or by their superiors, by the business people in their organizations if there is a mistake coming from a legal department. Hyper control. Again, this is something specific to our psychological type and to our profession. So lawyers tend to, I would say, trying to control as much things as possible, because legal profession itself, its aim is to try to make a system, try to make something understandable out of the chaos that is happening in the outer world. So, but again, we cannot control everything. And lawyers try to put all sorts of, you know, I would say representations, covenants, you know, waivers in the contract, but still things sometimes go wrong. And if it's not in the contract, then our business clients will come to us and say, hey, why didn't you foresee it? Okay, why didn't you put it in the contract? So lawyers really suffer a lot from this hyper control. Highly competitive environment, desire to win at any cost. So this also adds stress because legal profession is a competitive profession, especially if you are a litigator. So you either win or you lose. It's not very often that we have a win-win situation in courts, you know. So, and also there is a lot of competition in law firms. You have to compete with your friends, you have to compete with your colleagues, especially if you want to get promoted, you know, because there is only one partner position available and there are 10 lawyers who want to be a partner, you know. So that's why you have to compete every day, every day, every day. Lack of gratitude from clients. So as you see, their line in the complaints window is much longer than line in the thank you gratitude window. So because the clients do not very often understand what we're doing, but the bills from lawyers are very high, and there are no clients who are happy about the bills from their lawyers, you know. So this is why very often, instead of thank you from our clients, we get their complaints about high bills or saying that, look guys, we don't understand what you're doing at all. So why is it taking so long? You're a bad lawyer, and so on and so forth. So unfortunately, we have to live in the situation when we don't get gratitude for what we do. Feelings of uselessness, not making a difference. This is very specific to lawyers working in corporations as in-house legal. So I have seen this many times when kind of the lawyers are so far from the end of this chain that they don't really understand what their work, how their work changes the world, you know? So if it makes other people happy. So they're working a lot, but they really don't see the difference. And at some point of time, especially if during the midlife crisis, people start asking themselves questions. Okay, what am I doing? I'm earning a lot of money, a lot of cash, but I'm not happy because there's not much sense in what I'm doing. I mean, I don't see any difference in the world. The second thing, feeling powerless in the face of the state system, is specific to countries like Russia, like Belarus, you know, like some of the CIS countries where lawyers, especially, you know, legal counsels, advocates, attorneys, they feel that they cannot change anything in the face of the, you know, police bodies or courts or prosecutors' offices, you know. So this is also one of the very important things that adds suffering to lawyers. And finally, it's overly serious, lack of hobbies or time for themselves. You know, a lot of lawyers start to look like this guy on the picture. So they're very serious, especially by the age they are 40. So we really need to relax a little bit and, you know, to spend more time on ourselves, to have hobbies. It's crucial for us to have more interests outside of work because, as we have seen, work occupies so much of our time, we just don't have any time for anything else. A couple of final slides here. Choosing the profession because it pays well or is considered prestigious. Again, global research shows that 70% of lawyers are in their profession because they want to earn a lot of money, not because they want to help other people. Only 30% of lawyers are in the professions, 1/3, because they really want to make a difference and help other people. I can show, if you're interested, I can send you the links to this research. It's in a book called Lawyer Know Thyself. Psychological incompatibility with their profession. So some of the lawyers are in their profession because of their parents, because they just, there were no other options when they were choosing their profession at the age of 16 or 17, because of the coincidence or something. So, but let's be frank, legal profession is not for everyone. It's only for highly stress resistant people, you know? So sometimes it happens that the lawyers are overstressed because this profession is simply too stressful for them. So some professions are really more stressful than others. And finally, fear of seeming weak, unwillingness to acknowledge having a problem and ask for help so as not to hurt their reputation. So lawyers need to show their muscles all the time. They need to show that they're always right, that they know the answers to everything, So that is what, to lose the face for a lawyer is a tragedy. You know, that's why lawyers don't go to psychologists, they don't go to coaches. They prefer to work on their stress by themselves, very often with alcohol, unfortunately, as we have seen. Consequences for lawyers: stress, emotional burnout, anxiety, and depression, which are actually the #1 sicknesses now in the world, as by the data of the International Health Organization, alcohol abuse and other various abuses. So, and just a couple of words on emotional burnout. I know that Anna, who will be speaking after me, she will give you all the details on what it is, but I just want to say that the burnout is actually a consequence of chronic professional and interpersonal stress. So it's a state of emotional and mental exhaustion resulting in apathy, also feeling fatigue arising from chronic stress at work. So it's called accumulated stress of professionals. So, and you might go well in your profession for 10 or 15 years, but unfortunately in 10 or 15 years, it has the accumulated effect and you might get burned out. It's not a tragedy. It's not a tragedy. A lot of people get burned out. So statistics say that at least once every person burns out during their lifetime. So we need to know how to work with it. And finally, 2 common reasons for a burnout, as I actually put them, is first, lacking sense and meaning in your work. So in other words, you don't know what you're doing, and you're sometimes occupying a wrong position. So if you really love what you're doing, then you are not in the risk zone for the burnout. And the second is you never developed your emotional intelligence and do not use stress management practices. So one of the reasons we're making this seminar today is to give you these stress management practices so that you can use them. So when we're not managing stress, we're inefficient. And a quote from Hans Selye, a person who actually studied stress for his whole life: "Do not fear stress. To be totally without stress is to be dead. You must manage stress. You know, manage stress is the spice of life." So this was the final slide. I wrote a book, as I said, it's called Upshifting. And if you text me word stress in any social network, here I'm actually on every social network as Yury Zachek, I will be happy to send you a PDF of my book. I'm sorry it is only in Russian, but I know there are a lot of Russian speakers here. So please take care of yourselves and stay safe and stay, I would say, relaxed and not stressed. That's it. I know I'm a little bit more than 15 minutes, but I hope it was useful.
Thank you very much, but there is a way out. I know it, and I hope that everyone can find way out in his own way. Anna, you're next.
Yeah, okay.
And if someone will have a question, we can ask. You can ask them.
Yeah, and also what I wanted to say, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat as well, and we can respond to that then at the end.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Evgeniya. Thank you, Yury. Hello, everybody, and many thanks for inviting me to this very important webinar on a very important subject, and I think very up-to-date subject. And I will focus on the signs and symptoms of lawyers' burnout. And let me introduce myself. I'm a lawyer. And with 14 years of legal practice, including 12 years in international law firm New York, where I dealt with real estate and investment transactions. In 2013, 7 years ago, I experienced my own burnout. But as a result of which, I became more than a lawyer. Yes, I became a psychologist, coach, business trainer, and mediator. Now I'm a founder and CEO in Soft Skills Law Academy, and we improve soft skills of lawyers, negotiation skills, and public speaking skills, and of course, solving conflicts, conflict resolution. Yeah, and also I'm an author and coordinator of Soft Skills for Lawyers educational program in the High School of Economics. So, in this photo, you can see me with my partner, Thomas Mundry, the head of real estate practice in New York 9 years ago in 2011. Yeah, and it was a very important event in my professional life, Continental planned first stone laying. Yeah, the start of a huge real estate project. And frankly speaking, it was a peak of my professional career. But, you know, for me personally, this date was also the start of my fall into the deep hole of depression and burnout. Start of a 4 years period when I wasn't passionate about my job, even in such interesting and international project like Continental Plant. Yeah, when I lost my energy and meaning in my profession, I felt increasingly helpless, hopeless, cynical, and resentful. Yeah, it was really awful. Yeah, it's unfortunate that my boss didn't recognize what I was going through. The more he pressurized me, the more I resented him. Only after 4 years in 2015, did I experience rediscovery of myself, but not thanks to my boss or colleagues, but only to my second and third education as a psychologist and coach. So, burnout doesn't happen overnight. It has signs and symptoms as red flags, yeah. And in my presentation, I want to highlight these signs and symptoms which can help you to recognize that this is burnout and not only the stress. So let us discuss physical, emotional, and behavioral signs and symptoms of burnout. And let's start with physical signs and symptoms. And first of all, we should talk about feeling tired. Of course, when we in a state of burnout, we feel tired and drained most of the time. Of course, frequent headaches and muscle pains. It could be backache, change in appetite or sleep habits. Of course, lowered immunity, frequent illnesses. Yeah. Regarding emotional signs and symptoms, sense of failure and self-doubt, feeling helpless, trapped and defeated, detachment, feeling alone in the world, that no one can help you, no one near to you to help you and to understand you, loss of energy and motivation, and of course, passion about your job, your profession, increasingly cynical and negative outlook, decreased satisfaction and sense of accomplishment. Regarding behavioral signs and symptoms, we should talk about withdrawing from responsibility. When we skip a work or coming in late and leaving early, we want to be isolating from our colleagues and from everybody, and also use foods, drugs, or alcohol to cope and take out our frustrations, of course, to others. Yeah, and but burnout may be the result of unrelenting stress, but it isn't the same. Yeah, and we should, of course, see the difference between these two subjects, stress and burnout. For example, stress is characterized by over-engagement when you are too involved in your tasks and projects. But when we are talking about burnout, it's characterized by disengagement. When you build a wall, a huge distance between you and your projects, your professional activity, you devaluate your achievements and expertise, you may feel like you have nothing more to give. The next one, emotions. When you feel stress, your emotions are overreactive. It means that you may be too aggressive, anxious, and straight, but in a state of burnout, your emotions are blunted. You may feel nothing at all. The next one, stress produces urgency and hyperactivity. As we told before, you are overreactive. But burnout state produces helplessness, hopelessness, that no one can help you, and there is no hope to step out of this really emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion. The next, loss of energy. There is a loss of energy and stress, but burnout is more serious. It's more serious because life seems like a total waste of energy, total waste of time, motivation, ideals, of course, meaning, as Yury said before. Like the majority of your day is spent on tasks you find either mind-numbingly dull or overwhelming. A lack of meaning is one of the key drivers of burnout, and I fully agree with Yury that lack of meaning is one of the key drivers of burnout. The next one, stress leads to anxiety disorders, but burnout leads to detachment and depression. And stress has primary damage, is physical, but in burnout, primary damage is emotional. And of course, stress may kill you prematurely, but burnout may make life seem not worth living. So if you are a boss or a partner in a law firm, sometimes you can think that your ex-superheroes become dull and lazy. Yeah. I'm talking about superheroes because burnout tends to hit the best employees, those with enthusiasm, who accept responsibility readily and whose job is an important part of their identity. But maybe they are burned out, yeah, and they need your special care and support. If you think of the early symptoms of burnout as red flags, you can prevent a major breakdown, your own breakdown or breakdown of your colleagues or subordinates. You can solve a problem if you do not encourage. You cannot solve the problem, yeah? If you do not encourage. Learn and recognize the signs and symptoms that you are being pushed to the edge, where there are headaches, anger, irritability, or something else. Lawyers tend to be a tough, stoic lot, and we can be very good at playing through the pain. An important part of protecting against burnout, though, is recognizing when it's coming and when your life has become too much. Try to identify what is exactly stressing you or your colleagues, especially if there is a chronic mismatch between demands and your or his or her resources. Are there activities you can cut up? Can you hire somebody or help you to or delegate something? And of course, use the practices on which our next speakers will talk about. Of course, yoga and breath practices. So thank you very much. Glad to be useful to you.
Thank you very much, Anna. And I realized that several years ago, I was burnout. I had burnout in my life.
Yes.
Thank you.
But at the same time,
it's not a problem of one person. It's a problem of all of us, I guess. And we can face to this in our life, in our professional. Well.
So thank you, Anna, and thank you, Yury, for these excellent presentations. Now I'm asking Lisa, who will explain us what law firms are doing throughout the world to help their people deal with burnout and the stresses of COVID during times.
Thanks. Well, I think we all know that law firms don't have to wait for burnout to occur for the kinds of things that Anna just described, that we can be proactive. And in my observations and discussions with clients all over the world, in all different national cultures, from Russia to India to Vietnam to Latin America, even the US, I think there are two things that partners in these successful firms do particularly well. First is that they do work to prevent burnout. They stay attentive. They do this by regularly and honestly examining their own firm culture, not just to, as we say in English, navel gaze, but to actually make improvements. And they respond in a timely way to what people need to feel their best, to work their best. We saw this in firms during COVID when they worked very hard to protect their people from losing jobs, losing pay. That became, in some firms, a dominant motive to get their act together and respond to the crisis in ways that allowed them to continue to deliver their legal services to clients. Second, they have a track record of dealing with sensitive issues, even when it means having tough conversations with their colleagues.
So Lisa, why is culture within a law firm so important?
Well, I think Yury and Anna gave us great presentations on just the profile of natural stressors in the profession as a whole, and the kinds of things in lawyer personalities and the way that they work that contribute to their challenges. So we can more or less assume that negative stress in law firms will always exist. And here's where the culture comes in: how the lawyers and staff experience the stress, and why lawyers develop unhealthy work practices over years, as the speakers have described. In great part depends on the culture, which includes partner behaviors. And these are leadership behaviors that lawyers and staff look to and emulate. Because in law firms, people really do take their messages from the top, for good and for bad.
So, and how exactly do partners go about improving the culture of the firm? So what is your experience with that, and what do you advise to law firms, how they can improve it better?
Thank you, Ilona. I am going to go to some slides now. Let's see. That's not the one that I want. There we go. So in response to your question about how partners go about improving the culture in their firms, basically through communication, asking questions, listening, and responding, those emotional competencies that Yury mentioned. On an interpersonal level, sometimes it's as simple as saying, "How are you feeling?" We've all heard these words more often in the last 6 to 7 months, I think, than we ever thought we would. I'm feeling anxious and vulnerable. My clients tell me that they don't express their true feelings at work. And again, I think because of the many reasons that Yury described, people, especially lawyers, don't want to let their colleagues down, for one thing. And the other is they don't want to present themselves in a way that would cause people to question their mental faculties, because that is such an important part of being a competent and respected lawyer. I've also found that lawyers sometimes don't even have the words to describe their feelings because they've internalized these unpleasant feelings for so long. In my practice, a partner contacted me recently asking for help. And when I said, "How are you feeling?" he said, I don't know. I've just conditioned myself to get on with it. And then he paused and he said, well, maybe I'm feeling numb. I have nothing left to give. And that's a perfect description of what Anna was showing us as a distinction between that continuum of going from feeling stressed to crossing over into burnout. And unfortunately, lawyers very often wait until they get into burnout to ask for help. Partners will sometimes say, how do you talk with someone who's telling you about their stress, anxiety, and fears? How do you make them feel comfortable enough to be honest with you? I really don't think there's a right or wrong way to do this. What I tell them is to trust your instincts, first of all. Most lawyers have excellent communication skills, and they use them effectively and adeptly with clients. Where they tend to struggle is internally with their own colleagues for a variety of reasons. But mainly trust yourself, trust your instincts, and trust the relationship that you have with the person that you're talking with. That being said, it does help to remember a few things that can also make listening a more positive outcome. Staying emotionally honest with ourselves and others, just being ourselves, being willing to express our fears and anxieties with the other person so that they don't feel alone. Listening doesn't require agreement, only acceptance. This is not a situation where you have to debate the right or wrong of how someone's feeling. At times, nonverbal encouragement can be more supportive than words. We always hear it's not what you say, but how you say it. And sometimes just direct eye contact, a gesture that shows that you care. And many of these kinds of things are cultural, but in the moment, know that if you take the time to be yourself, if you paraphrase what someone has told you to make sure that you understand and that you're on the same page with them, you will avoid responding in a way that just makes you feel most comfortable because you're really listening, you're really cued into them. Sometimes people will overtalk, try to be overly cheerful. I think a common pitfall is to start giving unsolicited advice. You know, you want to fix the problem, you want to make it better for this person that you care about. And in a way, when you do that, you're actually making judgments or you're forming conclusions about what they need or what you want to do to help them. And I found that if you want to provide any kind of feedback to them about what you've observed, stay away from the judgment and just say something like this. You know, I've observed you being short-tempered with people at work. Describe the behavior. It seems that your tendency to show impatience and frustration is becoming more frequent and more intense. This concerns me because I know that you've used a lot more self-control in the past. Give them some, like a reality check of how you've observed them over time. And then say something like, you are a really valuable part of our firm. I'd like to help. How do you see the situation and what can we do together to address it? Rather than forming a judgment and putting your solution as an overlay. So really take your cues from the other person, asking, you know, how can I help? What do you need right now? Where can we go from here? So partners actually have a lot of control over the culture of the firm, more than they realize. And when partners are able to communicate through their actions that they are committed to help relieving negative stress in the work environment, goodwill and trust will go up and negative stress goes down. This is a situation when partners don't have to apply that same perfectionistic mode of thinking that they do with their work, because they're working with people and no one expects anyone else to be perfect. In asking managing partners what they have needed to do and to pay attention to in their cultures to stay competitive during COVID, this is what we've heard across the board. We've needed to be flexible. What worked before might not work now, and we're constantly adapting. And the survey that we did shows these shifts, this state of change and evolution that law firms have been in. At the same time, they've also reinforced that they have made a point of sticking to the basics as well, not getting distracted from the things that they have done well in the past, like client relationships, billing, and collections, just doing it with a twist in areas where they need to be flexible and adaptable. So whatever the traditions of your firm culture are, and every firm is certainly different, I think getting and sharing relevant information on a regular basis is a really good place to start understanding the realities of the existing culture. It's really as simple as that. A managing partner in South America described to me how he said working from home in our law firm was a bad word, and the lawyers knew never to bring it up with the partners. It was one of those elephants in the room that they did not discuss. But he said now during COVID, we've had to completely reevaluate our previous assumptions about productivity. And we've had to learn how to make things work in real time with the lawyers and staff. And unfortunately, because they weren't listening to the lawyers and staff earlier, this transition has created a lot of IT crises and unnecessary stress for the lawyers, when in fact some of these things could have been mitigated much sooner. So questions to ask: what are we doing now that works, and how can we improve our efforts to communicate about relevant issues in our firm? In order to do this better, I think sometimes it helps to look at why we're not doing as good a job as we want to. What are some of the obstacles? Partners aren't using emotional competencies in the workplace. The firm's culture is already unhealthy. Lawyers and staff may be operating on burnout even before a crisis. And I've seen this with firms. When COVID hit, there was a kind of mental and emotional paralysis that kicked in because there was no emotional reserve to draw on to punch through the challenges that they were experiencing. This is not unusual that partners see the firm through rose-colored glasses. They're the owners. They have a longer vision. They have resources. They're the ones that make the decisions. They have more control. Others in the firm may see things very differently. And as a result, because it's not their experience, partners tend to rationalize and ignore some of the cultural realities, such as the example with a firm that didn't pay attention to lawyers, that they would like to have capabilities to work from home. Now, asking questions about improving a firm's culture can sound risky to partners. I know that. It might feel like you're losing control. And a lot of times partners say they don't want to create expectations about what they're going to do because they don't know what they can or cannot do, or what they're willing to do even. But what I've found is that most people are happy to just know that you care, and you show that by asking questions. They are impressed when you try to understand how things look from their point of view. Many times people don't have the expectation that you're going to jump on the problem right away, but they want you to be aware of it and maybe to appreciate and empathize with some of the challenges that they experience every day. They don't expect a quick fix. And I think along with that, they want to know that the firm and their careers are moving in the right direction, that there's a positive momentum. And they like to help, provided that they think that the partners value their contributions. partners underestimate, I think, how people respect their role in the firm, their right to make decisions, their judgment in sharing information. And by asking questions, that doesn't diminish any of those controls that partners really have. So in getting in relevant information, we know we have to stay in touch, and partners have gotten really creative about how to stay in touch and keep communicating during COVID. You could add things to this based on your experiences in your firms, but a few that I've seen: anonymous internal surveys, confidential interviews, more questions in meetings on the human level, just how people are doing, what's happening in their lives, and making time to do that kind of sharing. Here's an example of information gathering that posed both a risk and an opportunity. In a number of markets a few months ago, we were hearing from partners something to this effect: we almost took for granted having a sense of shared identity and unity during pre-COVID times. And this was the fact. Now we are hearing about competing firms contacting our lawyers at home with enticing employment offers. There were partners in one firm that knew that they were at risk with their associates. All the lawyers were working from home. And so they split up the names of the associates. Each partner took a few of them, so they had their bases covered. And in different ways, they each contacted the associates, not telling them that they knew about the job offers that were coming in, but just to make sure that each associate felt valued and appreciated and a part of the firm. Now, ideally, they would have been doing this anyway, and which is probably why they knew that this was a business risk for them. But the interesting thing is that this particular firm that approached this risk very assertively and very constructively did not lose one associate this year. And that was not what they had expected. So they managed the risk and created an opportunity that would extend beyond COVID. We also want to pay attention to the business link between the culture of the law firm and the culture of our clients. And in a recent survey by the IBM Institute of Business Value on COVID-19 and the future of business, 60% of 3,500 executives in 20-some countries say that they are accelerating the digital transformation of their organizations. 75% plan to build more robust IT capabilities. These are understandable shifts during COVID, but the conference reached what it called an overwhelming conclusion that, one, the realities for businesses have radically shifted, and more importantly that, and I quote from the study, executives must accept that pandemic-induced changes in strategy, management, operations, and budgetary priorities are here to stay. So what does that say to our law firms? Are the culture shifts that we've experienced during COVID in this last year going to be permanent? And if so, how do we fill the gaps between where we are now and where we need to be to manage our capabilities? Some firms have worked really hard over the last 10 years to make the word team actually mean something. And you can think in your firms of how people work together as high-performing groups in planning client presentations and selling across practice lines. Things that really bring value to the firm, innovating and training. Now, if you have had success in these areas, you might think, how do we continue to encourage these teams during COVID and beyond, particularly in light of what we are expecting from our international clients? So how could a digital transformation of your clients affect the needs of your service teams? And what technology and innovative work practices will help law firms respond better to anticipated changes in client expectations? These are the kinds of things that you may want to talk with your partners about. to gather information, to ask questions, to listen and respond. So as I've said, partners have a lot of control over the culture of their firm. Sometimes partners forget that performance is the result of the total work environment, not a single person or decision. And traditionally, we have looked at stress and burnout as more or less the responsibility of the individual lawyer. So, you know, if you're feeling stressed, you take care of it. Some of the things I hear when negative stress starts to impact individuals and teams, and partners avoid dealing with burnout and are reluctant to ask for help, even for themselves, this is what they say. Burnout is a personal matter. It's not one that I or the law firm should get involved with. So if I'm not going to burden you with my problems, I don't expect you to burden me with yours. I don't want to make things worse. They genuinely may not feel comfortable giving feedback about a behavior that has changed, or the fact that one of their partners appears to be drinking in excess and writing strange emails and sending text messages late at night. They may not feel capable of making those observations and responding. And in the case of their own situation, they may not want to, as we've mentioned numerous times, cause other people to think less of them and their professional capabilities. They might say, you know, my coping strategy is just to get on with it, and what works for me is good enough for others. That assumption that, again, the individual is responsible, and as a competent lawyer, you know, this is what I've done, so this is what you should do. One factor I look at in observing how law firms deal with sensitive issues is to listen to how they spin what happens in their firm. And if someone leaves the firm, they may say things like, he was never really one of us, or, you know, we can live without that group of associates. We did everything we could to make her happy. You know, I just don't know what the problem was. On the other hand, when you hear questions like these, the tone is quite different. And it implies a law firm that is really trying to learn and improve from the challenges and the situations that are occurring. For example, what could we have done differently to mitigate or prevent this situation? Or to just, you know, be emotionally honest with your partners to say, you know, we were really disappointed that she decided to leave. She was a partner that we developed for more than 10 years. And it's really a loss for us that she didn't see a future here. You know, we don't want this to happen again. What can we do differently? So in summary, I would say that firms that have been most resilient and successful during COVID, and we expect beyond, have partners who are genuinely curious about what they don't know. And they take action based on information that they've gathered from staff and lawyers and clients to minimize negative stress and to respond in ways that will allow them to be competitive, resilient in times of change, and profitable. They're also willing to have these more difficult, sensitive discussions with each other. They don't bury problems. They identify them and work with them together for more positive outcomes. These relationships that they build within the firm and with their clients are really what will sustain them during times of serious change like we've experienced with COVID and beyond.
Thank you, Lisa. That was a very,
You're welcome.
was a really good about culture of law firm and how important communication in nowadays is, and as well value of contribution of your lawyers, asking the right questions, being in touch with your lawyers, and managing the firm and your employees during this crisis. So now I give the speech to our yoga teacher, Kama, who will first a little bit explain us about the powerness of breathing, and then he will show us a couple of breathing exercises which help us to calm down and relax our mind and body after a stressful day. Thank you, Kama.
Thank you, Ilona. And Lisa, it was very nice presentation.
Thank you.
I hope everybody can listen me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in short, I will give a little introduction about me. I'm a yoga teacher, meditation also, traditional meditation, Sufi meditation, and therapeutic yoga. So combination of all of this I'm doing in Moscow, in Russia. So today I want to, I won't be speaking much, but we will be doing more practical, which will, give you the instant result, let's say like that. So as I can see from listening all of your presentation, one moment, are you listening any drilling sound? No?
Everything is fine, Kama. You can go ahead.
Okay,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. Okay, so the main issue here, what I see is stress, okay? The beginning of burnout and everything is the stress. So if the main priority for a person is to remove burnout or stress, is to find the trigger point. For some people, most of you are lawyers and you came to this job because you love it, most of you. We can say that, yes? So there can be a reason, like for example, it cannot be your job, but maybe a person who is triggering that stress in your life. He's forcing you to do something, or maybe your job. So the best thing is to find a balance. For example, when you are working and having stress due to your work or the person at your work, you have to understand that it is actually stimulating your sympathetic nerves. So when it is part of your life, you're working every day. So it is a habitual practice of it is a habit in your life that only your sympathetic nerves are stimulated, and your parasympathetic nerves, which is relaxing your mind, calming down, which is helping you to calm down, which is helping you to balance your life, is not well enough stimulated. So through meditation or stretching, we are actually focusing on stimulating our parasympathetic nerves, especially through meditation, like slow, deep inhale, exhale breathing, and also stretching. So that is what mostly I'm doing in Moscow. So if we talk about the stress, just give you an example with the current situation. Who said, who is living in Sweden? Zoya?
Hi, I'm currently in Sweden. I
Yes,
live in
yeah.
Barcelona, but I'm traveling back and forth.
No, it doesn't matter. I just wanted to say about what is happening in Sweden. I mean, I would say that most people are less stressful in Sweden than in a place where everything is closed.
Absolutely.
It's very logical, because when you are locked in your home, when you are not in your, you're not having the enough freedom, you're obviously stressed. Yeah, you have more stress. So to give you an example, what happens when we have stress, it gives you a lot of, I read the result of stress. It is huge. It gives you insomnia, heart issues, sugar, and many other things. Immune system weakens. That is very bad. I mean, when a person is, doing transplanting organs in your body, what we are injected with stress hormones, because your body is not able to fight an incoming, a foreign object in your body when you are injected with cortisol or in the group of hormones in that. So your body accepts everything which comes to you when you are in stress mode. So can you imagine the people who are in stress? They are like an open door for anything which comes at them. So that is one very important thing which I see, when I read the news about people in Sweden, because they have more freedom and they, of course, they feel less stressed.
Because in Sweden there is no lockdown, right? So
yeah,
that's what you want to mention now, right?
Yeah, that's why I mentioned it. So see, some of the people, they cannot avoid their stressful work. So the best thing we can do is to balance their life by stimulating parasympathetic nerves through meditation or stretching. So we can do some, I have selected 3 breathing technique. One is in yoga, we call it Bhastrika. And in modern times, some people changed it into like, there is one successful guy, his name is Wim Hof. So he actually took the Bhastrika of breathing and did some change, and it's very successful. I'm happy for him. So there are many successful, wonderful people like that. So just because one breathing, it became a very famous technique in the Western world. I'm talking about Wim Hof. And there is another techniques in yoga which we call Anuloma Viloma, or alternative nostril breathing. So we will do that one and this Bhastrika. So if everybody is sitting in a comfortable position, let's begin now and I will show you. You can see my stomach.
Show video or not?
Everyone is switching off the video.
Switch
oh,
on?
You can go ahead, Kama.
Yeah, okay. So first of all, I will be very happy if there is a way that I can see. No, I can see only maximum 3 people plus me. Just to give you an example.
You can see Evgeniya.
So to see the benefits of meditation within few minutes, like a couple of minutes, I can give you right now an example of the thoughts, what a positive, negative thoughts make us physically, emotionally. So to see that, let's all sit in a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Yes, just comfortable, whether it is sitting on a chair or laying down, no issues. Your eyes closed and face completely relaxed, not holding any muscles, no any contraction of muscles on your face. Okay, now slowly deep inhale. It's like 3 seconds inhale and 3 seconds exhale. Two more times, deep inhale and complete exhale. Now, let's imagine that what was the most happiest moment in your life. Go to that moment in your imagination, the happiest moment in your life. Be there for a moment. Just for 15-20 seconds. Very good. Now slowly exhale. You can open your eyes. Okay, now we will do the same one, but the worst moment in your life. Okay, you have to imagine the worst moment in your life and be there for 20 seconds. Okay, so ready. Close your eyes, face relaxed. Continue deep inhale, exhale. Very good. Now you can open your eyes. See what a thought makes in your emotions. It's very visible if I look at your face. For example, I can see only here in my screen Evgeniya, Chris, Owen, and Zoya. So to give you an example, when I asked you to imagine a positive thought, I could see a light smile on Evgeniya. Okay. For most people, it is like that. It creates a positive emotion in your body. And when you go for the negative thought, it creates a negative emotion in your body. Now imagine you are bombarded with this stress, negative thoughts in your mind, in your heart, every day. It becomes part of your character. So what we have to do is that to find some kind of practice, you can go to a yoga teacher or someone who can give you some boost, some relaxation every day. It is very important that you do it every day because you have to make it as a habit. In this way, you will be able to trigger that. You know, if you are in a meeting, let's say there is a conference, you can do a 5-minute breathing or 3 minutes breathing. It changes your mood. It changes your emotions. It brightens up your face. So let's do that right now. Let's go to the Bhastrika breathing. I will explain step by step. So there are many ways we do this breathing. The main purpose is to fill your body with oxygen. So some people do it like in a straight position. Some people start like this. They do the movement of spine forward and back. Okay, it all depends on your comfortable way. So you can inhale through nose, exhale through mouth, or inhale through mouth, exhale through mouth. Our main plan is to inhale and exhale deeply and get maximum oxygen in short time. So we will do it like 30 times. Deep inhale, exhale, and we will exhale completely, empty our stomach, lungs, and hold our breath. Let's try it for 45 seconds. Let's see how long you get. If you can reach at least 40, it's wonderful. When you feel like I can't hold more, add plus 10 seconds. That is the most important thing because that is where the magic happens. Okay, it is very energizing breathing technique, and let's do it. So you can sit straight or in a comfortable way. I will do through mouth. You can do through nose and mouth, how you are comfortable. So we exhale completely. And we start 30 times. Exhale completely and hold your breath. That was 45 seconds.
We just did the check that we don't have the COVID.
I have, yeah. That's very powerful, yes. Yeah. It increases the immune system. It changes your mood. Have you experienced any change in your mood?
I will ask the audience, Evgeniya, Chris, Zoya. I saw you were exercising. Ladislav.
It's good. I'm not sure yet, but you know, it's good.
Okay, it changes.
Lighten up.
If you read that, it wakes up you. Yeah, it's energizes you. This breathing technique is very good in the daytime or in the morning, or when you're doing some kind of presentation in front of many people. If you're tired during the work, you can do this. It's very powerful. If you're a person who are doing hiking or swimming, you can do this breathing and do your job. When you're running on treadmill, do this breathing. We don't have to hold your breath. Just rapid inhale, exhale, deep one. Just do this while you are running. You can see a boost in your body. You can push more. You can run more longer. This is a very powerful way of breathing technique. Other one I want to show is the alternative nostril breathing.
1 second, Kama, because I think we're running out of time. Vlad, Zoya, can we have one more, or do we have to close our webinar soon?
I think we can do democratic, decision to do one more.
One more, Kama, one more.
So, what do I have to do?
You can have one more exercise, whatever you want.
Okay.
Whatever you think helps us, because I understand.
So I think I will give you one more. It's called alternative nostril breathing. Maybe if you Google it, you will see even Hillary Clinton doing it in a interview. It's very famous. It's very relaxing breathing technique. So here, the most important part of breathing is slow exhale. That is where we stimulate our vagus nerve, which is part of parasympathetic nervous system. So we will focus on this slow exhale and short inhale. And it is not deep inhale. We have to be very careful about that. Very short inhale, slow exhale. I will count it. So you can do a slow exhale. The full form of this breathing technique is inhale through one nose, exhale through another nostril. We will not do that. Just go for the basic, the essence, okay, the core one. So I hope I have like 2 minutes.
2 more, but not more.
2 minutes. Okay. Give me a second. I'll just. So you can close your eyes, face relaxed. So I will count like on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4. So you inhale in this time. And we will hold it for 12 to 15 seconds. And we will exhale the longer, the best. So I will count up to 8. On 1, on 2, on 3, on 4, on 5, like this, up to 8. Then again, without a gap, we will again inhale. I will tell you like on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4. And hold it. So I will tell, I just follow. So ready, close your eyes, face relaxed. Exhale completely. Now inhale short on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4. Hold your breath. Now exhale slowly on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4, on 5, on 6, on 7, on 8. Inhale short on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4. Close both nostrils. Just hold your breath. You don't have to close both nostrils. Exhale slowly on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4, on 5, on 6, on 7, on 8. Inhale on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4. Hold your breath. Exhale slowly on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4, on 5, on 6, on 7, on 8. Inhale on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4. Close both nostrils. Hold your breath. Exhale slowly on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4, on 5, on 6, on 7, on 8. Last one. Inhale on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4. Close both nostrils. Just hold your breath. Exhale slowly on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4, on 5, on 6, on 7, on 8, on 9, on 10. Very good. You can open your eyes. So this one we do like 7 plus 7, 14 breath. That is very, very, very good. You can read about it. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. That's all.
Any questions to Kama? Any questions to our speakers from the audience? I think we discussed everything. There were not really many questions. I've seen some comments in the chat, but I think we're at the end of our seminar. Evgeniya, you wanted to say and add something as well, right?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Kama because it's my new experience to do briefing practice online with switching on the screen. It's rather new experience, and it will be on the on YouTube. on YouTube, I will leave. I just can tell my own story if you want, and if you need. If you have time, yeah.
I'm ready to listen.
Just few minutes. When I was 30, my daughter came in my life, and so I tried to be perfect. I tried to be perfect in all areas and all spheres of my life, at home, at work, as a mother, as a wife, as housekeeper, and so. How many months do you think it takes before I feel me awful? Only 6 months. Only 6 months, and it was ache in my head. It was ill pain in my shoulders, and I tried to find the reason through different doctors, and nothing changed. And after that, I met one girl who is doing yoga, Kundalini yoga, and it's changed my life. I saw a picture with very serious face on Yury's presentation, I guess, yeah? serious face. It was on Yury's presentation, and can you imagine me with very serious face? I was wearing this face, and when I was doing meditation, it was very hard just to open my hand after meditation, because I take me in hand very strong. Because I was very perfectionism, I guess. And yoga changed my life. So I think lawyers should doing something with our body, and every person which wearing a lot of responsibility on our shoulders should doing something with our body, massage, yoga, swimming, running, whatever you help. So everything changing, and everything depends on us. And I even tried to be a yoga teacher and to just change my job, to change my professional. I was a managing partner at the time, and if I changed the profession, so I guess I will not be a legal week, for example. But several years ago, I just realized that it was a changing of my motivation. I realized that I need to change my motivation, my mind to make it more wider, and just to break the borders in my mind. And I even make some meditation to switch my mind from negative to positive. And I even sing in the song wake up and sing, проснись по in Russian, for even 6 months every morning. So everything in our hands. And my experience is like one example, I guess, and Anna's experience and Yury's experience, and all succeed people, I guess, succeed not only. It's not only about money, of course. It's about our way of our thinking. Prosperity and succeed, it's not only about money, and only every succeed people in succeed in our mind, it's I guess it's happy people. And my task is, and what pushed me to change my life, my daughter pushed me to change my life. I wanted her to be happy, and I realized that I must to be happy myself at first. And everything changed. So now I don't wear a serious face. You see, I'm smiling, laughing, and so on, and continue doing yoga in every place where I can do it. Even I did it in airport, because I did a meditation, 40 days meditation, and I have to do it every day.
Can I say one example?
Yes,
Kama?
Kama.
Yeah, okay. So, see, I have few students in Moscow. Mostly I'm doing individual session. So one of my students with whom I do Sufi meditation is very powerful. So we do it in the evening, and he's a HR director. So when he comes home, I can see on his face anger, frustration, like angry to someone, you know. So I see him, I understand him, and not happy at all, not a happy face at all. So we do that first breathing. We start with the eye, neck, and some stretching, then start breathing, and after that we end with a nice stretch and shavasana. So the beginning phase of his emotion, and after our session, how we look at him and see his face, it's amazing the change we can see in just 1 hour session. It's changes. It's like, it makes me happy, actually. I'm making people happy. So it's really happy to see, and happy to be part of something like this. And of course, Evgeniya, if you want to be a yoga teacher, why not? Try. Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
So I think we are at the end of our session. I understand, or what we can take from this session as well. You need to enjoy what you do in order to be successful. I think Yury, it was Anna, and also Lisa who were saying that during their presentations, and the final words came with comma. So I think enjoying what you're doing and tracking and facing problems at the early stage can prevent from burnout and being totally stressed out. And I understand that Vlad and Soya will have some final words, but if our speakers like Yury, Lisa, and Anna would say as well 2 more words, please feel free to say something in order to close our webinar for today.
Guess I can start because I was the first. So my 2 words is just love yourself and take care of yourself and of other people. So be attentive to other people, and please, please, please spend time on treating yourself well, you know, and learning how to manage stress, because now it's a matter of survival. So please allocate time in your calendars. It's crucial.
Yeah, as for me, thank you, Evgeniya, for this very, very interesting example of burnout, personal experience. Yeah, and I also experienced it, and Yury also experienced it. We discussed it today. Thank you, everybody, because it's a very brave step to do it publicly, to speak about it, about your own experience, your own pain, and we managed to do with it something. We improved our life. We improved our life. We improved our skills. I mean, in yoga, in psychology, in coaching, so on. And so love what you're doing and do what you love, and just do not stop improving your skills. You're improving your skills and just develop in your life and in your mind, of course. Thank you very much.
Lisa?
It was a pleasure meeting all of you and working with you, and it was delightful to see how all of the presentations built on one another and all the common themes that wove their way through each of the subjects. I think my focus was creating a challenge for partners in law firms and leaders, not necessarily partners, but those who are working within firms. Everyone has an ability to influence the culture and stay attentive, ask questions, be aware that your actions can contribute to an environment where people feel motivated and engaged and productive. And to the contrary, those very same behaviors and policies in a firm can create a lot of negative stress and unnecessarily pull people down. So watch for opportunities.
Thank you. Vlad, you want to add something at the end?
I think that we would like to kind of, you know, to do this with Zoya, both. I mean, my personal impression is that, you know, yoga is definitely better than drinking, but otherwise.
Are you sure?
Sometimes, yeah, I have to admit. But what is really important that, you know, it's better for us to find something in our lives that will give us, you know, the peace of mind and comfort. And probably, you know, the change of profession is not the best and the easiest solution in any case. So I fully understand that, you know, we are all going through very hard times. And it's very important to find our own peace of mind and our own possibility to kind of to get this kind of idea that will keep you alive and keep you active and keep you enthusiastic and positive. And probably that's, then you will be able to share this with others, because to very much extent, we are not living by ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it's very important that we are able to have this energy and this enthusiasm to share this energy with our friends, with our colleagues, with our families, and of course, you know, in our working place and our clients, because, you know, they're all also looking for this. So from that point, I think it was an absolutely excellent session because it gives us the possibility to understand what's going on, but also the possibility to find the way, I mean, probably our own way, but still the way out of these troubles, and gives us great examples that, you know, people shared with us. That is a possibility, you know, we are able to find our own ways, and we better should, you know, breathe better and, you know, think better and do whatever we like to do, and that, you know, will help us a lot in our lives. Zoya.
I was thinking that I'm very happy that actually, even though it was not planned so, but this exact session is the session to close the series of the sessions, because right now we've made the breathing exercise, we feel more relaxed, more optimistic, and we also got some guidance for the future and to look into the future with optimism and new energy. So I think it's a great coincidence that this exact session is closing the series of sessions that we prepared for you. Thanks again, everyone who participated in all the webinars, all the speakers, the moderators, and the participants who joined us during these weeks. And I feel like this session showed us and proved us again that it is very important to share our problems, our emotions, our ideas for the future and at the present, because this is exactly what makes us understand that we're not alone, that in the industry we actually are experiencing the same problems. So it's very important to share these problems and the ideas to and the solutions to these problems. So this exactly is what we're hoping to do for you in our online conference that we are right now discussing the dates for. And I think we will set the exact date of the online conference this year very soon, and all of you will be informed. And of course, you're very welcome and expected to join us on this annual, unfortunately this year, online conference, but we'll do our best to keep the tradition of the conference and make it as interactive as possible.
Thank you, everybody, and once more, thank you for the great presentations today and for organizing all this, and we hope to see all of you during our virtual, online, but still annual meeting of the Law Firm Management Committee in Moscow. See you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.